Guys, today's podcast is in partnership with Stone & Co Solicitors, experts in serious and complex criminal matters. If you have a criminal matter that you need help with or you've been arrested and want the best representation, contact the number below or drop them an email. All the information is on the screen below, as you can see. Stone & Co can offer specialist criminal defense services on a private basis or legal aid, so you don't pay nothing. And as a promotional offer, they're offering a case review in person or over the phone, free of charge, no obligation, no fees. And they'll take a look at your case, guys. Assalamu alaikum. This is a big gathering.
Alhamdulillah.
We got Smile to Jannah. As I call him the legend all the time. Whatever. 10 years deep in the game.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah. Our guest from America, Sheikh Uthman. Second time he came through. Jazakallah khair.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Inshallah, he's going down to ready to do a lecture after this.
Yeah.
Nasruddin, my elder from my neighborhood.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. What's going on?
Walaikum salam.
From the ends.
From the bits, bro.
Yeah, he's the brother that kind of exposed the sunnah to us a lot.
Alhamdulillah.
You know what I mean? Because we weren't interested in the masjid when we were young.
Yeah.
So it was him that, like, and a few of his brothers around him,
Inshallah.
you know, we used to see them do things different.
Yeah.
Because they had a lot of, like, you know, shirk and stuff, you know, doing stuff. Yeah, whatever. So we saw them. They didn't show us no love. They will beat us up.
Not us.
No, I mean, the elders in our community and whatever, they will give us licks.
Yeah.
So when we saw these brothers, because you were good, much older than us, isn't it, obviously?
Yeah.
So they're the ones that kind of intrigued it first.
Alhamdulillah.
And whatever, and then from there, you know, a lot of people, whatever, whatnot. Because obviously when you lot started first, it was just cultural, innit?
Yeah.
Inshallah, today later on, maybe we go past the local masjid. It was literally a tiny house, Valencia Road, no?
SubhanAllah. Serve the community well, though.
But like a small house.
on
How do
reflection.
people even get in there?
They used to get full, you know.
I know. It's to get full packed. It's like a tiny little house.
Subhanallah.
3-bedroom, you know, like a tiny house. It's still there. The masjid still owns it, you know that?
Yeah.
They just use it. Now they've got a proper purpose-built masjid. You know?
Alhamdulillah.
The community grew massively, innit?
A lot's changed.
That's really unique.
Yeah.
Because they say, even back in the days, they say, although the masjids, they were unbaked, but the people that emerged from them were baked. Today, the masjids are baked, but the people that emerge from them are unbaked. So, alhamdulillah, community that has people to you know, fill the masjid is unfortunately and sadly, it's good to see, because it's not happening that, you know, in a lot of communities, you see grand mosques, but when you see the people that are actually turning up,
This is one of the problems that, if you look at Ottoman Turkey, you find many masjids. Every square mile you find 5, 6, 7 masjids. But the empire still declined. So something went drastically wrong.
You know, just quickly, question for you, you know, and we'll start with this. Something that he said, like, you know, how the people are today, you know, baked, unbaked. You know, just like some advice I would like, you know, even for myself and brother, there's a lot of brothers in a very similar position to me. Like, we love the deen, alhamdulillah, I pray 5 times a day.
Alhamdulillah.
But we have a lot of shortcomings that are linked to our jahiliyyah. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Like, what would be your advice to, like, overcome that and stuff like that?
See, the thing with people leaving the Jahiliyyah is that people always think it's like a slow transition. But to me, that's not the way to do it. You have to do a cold turkey, hard cut. When I left my gang world, I mean, even though, like, I debated the issue, should I still give da'wah to my old friends? And I did at one point go, I mean, they were in the beginning, go and speak to them, even though they were trying to kill me and all this. But after that, I cut ties. I walked away. I didn't even live in the neighborhood anymore. I moved out. I left the country. I went to go study. I came back. I changed everything, because you can't live in 2 worlds. You know, when you put your feet in 2 boats, sooner or later, either you're gonna fall or you gotta choose one, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So you just gotta cut it. You gotta be like, that's it. Like, I'm done with that. Like for me, I'll tell you this. I didn't like to read when I was young. In middle school, high school, I would get some nerd to do my homework for me, get somebody to cheat, threaten teachers. Like, this is reality. I'm not, you know, no cap in here, like, straight, you know. I didn't like it, you know, because school was boring to me. It's not that it was difficult. It's just that it didn't interest me. I didn't see it as practical, right? Why am I going to sit reading about American history? I don't care about George Washington or Lincoln or any of that kind of stuff. Like, okay, I got to take a test, tell the teacher, look, I know where your kids go to school. I need A's because I got an Asian mom and and she wants to see some A's. You put those A's on there, we're good. When I came to Islam, I said, you know what? All my other hobbies, I'm putting them away. There's only two things that I love today as far as hobbies. One of them I can't mention because I'm in the UK, but in the US, we keep them on us.
The Fifth Amendment.
Second Amendment.
The Second Amendment.
I got a hat. It says 2A, Second Amendment, Muslims. With the
That's all right in America, so isn't that wrong with that?
That's legal for us,
exactly,
man.
yeah.
You know how many I have? Guess.
Well, you're a collector then, obviously.
Collector. I'm insane for it, bro.
200.
No. I'm in California. I can't have that much, man. If I was in
What's
Texas,
the limit on it?
well, in California, there's a lot of laws. Like you can only buy one a month. You gotta wait 10 days. You can only buy from the roster, so you can't. It's not a free state. It's a California. But if I was in Texas or Arizona, I'd be up there. Nah, I got 53 right now.
53 WAPs. Let's call them WAPs. YouTube algorithm. You know.
Yeah.
It was 53.
We got
Damn.
we got them stakes on us. You come out to San Diego, like when Sneeko came out, we went out. We go out and we show you how we do fireworks out there on 4th of July, bro.
I was in. I think you were there that time. We went Umrah, and I bumped into some brothers from Philadelphia. They're ex-street guys.
Yeah, I know Philly.
So I asked one of the brothers, like, how much does like a strap cost on the street though, not to buy it on the street?
Yeah.
They said if it's like a dirty strap, it's got a body on it, whatever, you can get for like $50.
Yeah, but you don't
$100. Yeah, but even like I was like, what? Do you know how much it costs in the UK?
No.
Not like we know.
Not that we know,
Not
but
like we know.
You saw a documentary.
if you saw a documentary, so a 9mm, you're looking at between, depending on what it is, a Glock or whatever, you're looking at between £4,000 to £6,000.
No way.
It's a very lucrative market here,
Oh,
and the certain type of designer brand name straps like Glocks and that is high level criminals. That's why in the UK, why they have such a high level of knife crime, because these street kids they
They
can't
can't get
afford-
machines. Yeah,
It's
that's
that-
right.
And the problem they will have here as well, from what I heard, is they'll have problems with ammunition. Because remember, it's not sold here.
Right.
So they have problems with ammunition. So a man might have a gun, he can't get ammunition and stuff like that. So you get the higher level criminals.
This documentary is very detailed. I'd like to watch it.
All this stuff's available
Yeah,
online.
it's
This
online,
is
yeah.
research. Yeah.
Okay, anyway,
You know,
it is.
like-
But we're from the street, innit? So we don't.
Netflix,
We
innit?
hear things through the grapevine.
Yeah.
Just like what I mean.
From what I heard, not that I would know either, in the U.S., on the street, you can get anything. I mean, if you want full autos, you can get anything. Because see, this is the thing, gun laws don't work because in Mexico, which is right next to us, it has the strictest gun laws in the world. You cannot get a strap for nothing, right?
In Mexico, you
in
can't.
Yeah, you can't.
Mexico is extremely strict gun laws. They have one gun store in Mexico City, and the best you can get as a civilian is a 38. And you got to go to like crazy amounts of stuff. But they have the highest murder rates in the world. Google highest murder cities,
Yeah.
top 5 are all Mexico.
Tijuana.
Wow.
Tijuana's right next to us. We go give that one on the streets of Tijuana,
That's Badger, California, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, San Diego, Tijuana are twin cities.
Twin cities,
so I'm
yeah.
from SD. We're right next to them. It's half an hour from me.
Saying that, actually, I have a question. You mentioned that. Obviously, in the UK recently, we had the riots in the
Yeah, I
far
saw
right
that.
and whatever. And obviously, you're in America, and Elon Musk is in America.
Yeah.
And he was making a lot of noise in America. I don't know if you noticed that. What was the take in America of what's going on in the UK? And because he seems to have a lot of influence, because he's got 180 million.
Yeah, all that stuff means nothing, to be
Yeah.
honest. Elon Musk is nothing. Yeah, he owns X, so he owns influence. He's got money, so he throws it around. But to be honest, I mean, I don't know about mainstream media and all that, because I can just tell you from what we heard, we saw nothing but support for the Muslims out there. That's one of the reasons I'm in the UK right now. I don't want to just sit around and talk about how we support our brothers. I wanted to be here on the ground. And like I said, I mean, all these cowards that make false rumors. I mean, I'm waiting for an apology from your boy Tommy, because all that stuff was.
He's an
crap.
our boy.
Yeah,
That's not going to happen.
He's from your
That's
town,
not
bro.
gonna
Not, Elon, I'll deal with him. He's on our side of the.
We deal with Tel Aviv Tommy.
Yeah.
Tel Aviv Tommy.
No,
That's his name.
But we can speak volumes about this Tommy guy.
No, but the first thing I want to ask, and again, this is not, it's rhetorical because obviously, but it is the fact that they lied, that it turned out that this was not an immigrant, it was not a Muslim, it was not somebody that came on a boat yesterday. The fact these were pure lies. Why is nobody calling him out on this? Why is media not calling? Why is Elon Musk not sending an apology now, saying, you know what, my bad, we had people attacked and harmed off a lie that we were spreading? You know, and all these cowards, these are I'm gonna watch my tongue here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, the thing that makes me mad is that they sit there causing violence, causing hardships, causing harm to civilians, to innocent people. If they were about it, come out and do something. You're sitting in Cyprus in some hotel or Airbnb talking all this stuff. You're not on the street. I feel bad for those people that get duped by these people.
They don't even know why they're
They don't know
racist.
what they're doing.
They don't know why they're
You know,
racist.
they're at that pub and then they get hyped up and all this stuff. But the people hyping you up aren't there on the street with you. Like me, I'm here. If I'm gonna see, I don't beef on the internet. I don't do this stuff. I'll approach you. If I gotta subtract you, I'll subtract you.
That's
But
the
I'm
way
not
it
gonna
should
talk
be.
about it. I hate this stuff. This is fake.
But
If Tommy wants to do this stuff, tell him be there yourself.
But you know, like, so that's a good point he brought up. So, you know, you've been with a few brothers and they explain to you, but I will give it to you from the street level. I know his history from when he was a kid, because the town he's from. So he's from a place called Luton.
Yeah.
Luton is 35-40% Muslim, I believe,
I
something
got
like
family
that.
in Newton. Yeah.
Yeah. So what people don't know about Tommy, he was actually on the streets. He wanted to be a street guy. The people don't know this. He doesn't tell this on the. And there's more to it, but you know, we don't talk people's. So he was on the road. He took a lot of violations from the Asian community, the Pakistani community, and some personal stuff that he took. He slightly has touched on it in the past himself and whatever. So his hatred begins from there. Had nothing to do with Islam, had nothing to do with anything. So, you know, we are from an era, like my age and especially his age, where we had to deal with the far right. Like, I mean, we had to meet it head on, you know, and we had to do things, you know, very violent things, because the far
You have to
right,
defend yourself.
but the far right back then, the reason why I respected them, because they would tell you they're racist. They're not gonna be, you know, them man, they're from South Cut, whatever. They
National
would-
Front, all
they
the
would-
skinheads and all that.
So-
Combat 18. I'm gonna give you a story about one of
So
these.
one of the leaders of the far right from our generation was from our town. You know who I'm talking about, innit?
He was on job.
He was Franey, innit? Yeah.
Listen, this guy was on job. Listen, I'm glad this topic has come up because
Yeah,
I've got respect for this guy.
he
Why?
would tell you in your
'Cause he was
face.
sincere.
He got dealt
Understand?
with in the end.
He was sincere.
Just don't get me wrong. He got chased out and whatever.
Yeah.
It was Mayhem that chased him out in the end. You know that?
Mm.
Yeah. So anyway, but if you look at Tommy's pictures, people, you know, there's pictures with him and Tommy together, right?
What, and my
Yeah,
life
there's
Franey?
pictures between him, pictures with Franey and him together. I'll send them to you. It was there. So this is all linked up back then. You understand? So remember, Tommy's our age, my age. You understand what I mean? So Tommy's generation was kind of, you know, the last bastion basically. It was there. So he's took a lot of violations in Luton, which started his hatred. And obviously we know the Zion agenda tapped into it.
You need to go to therapy or something.
Of course.
You know,
Remember, you know,
you can cry in a corner somewhere.
so you know, I've sent this stuff to you, and I'll put it on the screen when I edit the podcast.
Yeah.
There's videos, I think you've seen them, of him. He's doing a documentary in Luton. A Pakistani guy comes and slaps him in the
car,
face while he's doing a documentary. So how much weight do you hold in the place you're from? Listen, let me tell you something about he wants to be a bad man. You could never be a bad man anywhere if you're not a bad man in your neighborhood, because that's where it starts.
Because that's
You know
where
what
they
I
know
mean?
you.
So he's in where he grew up. The guy walks up to him on camera and smacks him. That's not just one video. There's another video. Again, he's doing another documentary. So, and he gets moved to, he falls over. I'll put the videos up so you can see.
Yeah, I've seen that.
You've seen that one.
I gotta
So,
watch it.
so remember, but I'm asking you, so what's happened to him off camera? What's happened off camera if that's getting caught on camera?
There's been a recent video in Greece or wherever he is, Cyprus. Why are you going to a foreign country with foreigners to seek asylum?
Yeah,
It's a mad thing. It's just pure contradiction. Anyway, some youth passes him and recognizes him and says something like, "You racist pig." It's on now. You ain't got no cameras with you now. You ain't got the man them with you now, innit? So my man just like sheep, bro. I'm just sitting here with my family and my kids. Man was like, I don't give a fuck about your family.
Bro, look, there's a video from in prison, yeah?
So I'm like, what?
He was in prison for 9 weeks.
Yo, if that was Frayne, you think you can insult him?
No, Frayne-
Listen, he's on
back
job,
in the
man.
day,
He's
yeah.
on job.
So if there's a video of him he was in jail for 9 weeks. It's like he'd done 100 years. He was so stressed out in 9 weeks because it can't put him in general population because everyone's after him. So obviously this is now manifested. Obviously money came into it from that country, the legal country.
I pictures him wearing Musa'ad shirts and
Yeah,
stuff.
of course. So,
Yeah,
so,
standing on the
so-
tanks and stuff.
so that was his thing. And remember, see, Andrew Tate, and people don't know this about Andrew Tate, and I can show you a video of this. Andrew Tate was a supporter of Tommy Robinson
Yeah.
before Andrew Tate got famous. There's a video I have of Andrew Tate where he says Tommy's trying to stop the UK from getting Islamicized. So you should understand the dynamic here. Tommy, Tate, these guys, they want to be gangsters. But in Luton, it's very
He's
difficult.
from Luton as well, ain't
Yeah.
he, that Tate guy.
So it's very difficult to be a gangster. You know what I mean? So if you look at some of Tate's videos, he's always holding the cigar and the whole Tony Montana thing.
Yeah.
Because he wants that. So I phoned one of my friends from Luton, the high ranking, in the drug game, we're not going to say no names.
Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, so they don't care. But I was like, who is this guy? So this is what the guy, he goes, bro, he's an idiot. And the guy told me that Tate actually at one point tried to sell drugs, but he got dealt with. And you can't believe everything you hear.
Yeah.
So I actually found a very old video of Tate talking about it. He said this is before he, went famous, that he tried to sell drugs in Luton, owed the guy £2,500. He didn't have the money. The guy came and stabbed him, and he panicked and left the drug game. So you understand they wanted that gangster stuff. You understand what I mean? So you see that in them. So a lot of their racism, it comes from that. And I want to touch on something very important. So I've been studying Tate. I believe he suffers from, they call it a syndrome, It's called the Uncle Tom syndrome. That's what it's called. His father was a black guy who worked for the CIA, as he claims. You're going to be conflicted with your identity right there. They divorced. He comes with his mother, who's white, into a place called Luton. So Tate says himself, people never identified him as a black man. He was always looked at, he says this himself, he didn't really suffer racism because he's looked at as white guys. Yeah. So Luton is Asians and blacks. So he's from an area called Marsh Farm. So a lot of the Asians are from a place called Bury Park. And some of the black street figures are from an area called Marsh Farm, who I was in prison with. So Tate grew up there, and they were the bad boys in that area. But Tate can't identify with them either, because they're not looked at as black. So obviously, what did he lean towards? They have Luton, you remember the hooligans? So Luton has always had, we call them hooligans, the far right football hooligans. They were one of the main firms back in the day. Luton, Stoke, Millwall and stuff like that. So they always had that element, far right element in Luton. You understand what I mean? So he leaned towards that as a youngster because he identified with that. And that's why today you're seeing him say this crazy stuff,
Because my thing is like, why would a Muslim say the things he says?
I mean, the thing is, somebody who's Muslim, we always try to give them nasiha.
Of course, yeah. He's a brother.
I mean, last night we sat with Sneeko and we sat the brother Abdul Wahab, and inshallah we'll have some things in the works to try to get a hold of the brother and give him some advice, because the thing is sometimes people, like you said, people don't know where they're falling in, right? And as Muslims, we have al-wala wal-bara, and we have that loyalty for the ummah. Yeah. And, for me, like I want to call a spade a spade. Like I want to be straight about this, right? If a Muslim does something wrong, I'll call him out on it. Like I'm not saying that we're okay with that, right? But the fact that all of this was based on lies, that has been exposed by the police, by the government, by the news agencies, by the identity of the young man who did these stabbings, that he was not a Muslim, from a Christian family, somebody born in the UK. I don't understand how people, even like our brother Tate and others, that were Elon Musk included, that were peddling all this stuff, are not sitting there going, you know what, we caused all this out of nothing. And all these hooligans that came, and I saw some videos, there was, I don't think he was even Muslim, it was just a black guy that got attacked by like 30 guys, like what's up with that? Like, I'm from the street. Like, if you want to take it, if you want to show me you're brave, take it one-on-one. Like, let's do this.
That's
right?
not going to happen with that.
So I mean, look, the reality is Islam is the future of the world. And it's not for immigration, right? Alhamdulillah, we're sitting here. You got other brothers sitting here. Many of these brothers from non-Muslim households, right? We were last night sitting with our brother Sneeko. Before that, we're Eddie and all these people. These are people that have reverted to Islam. They've come back to the truth that they were born on from non-Muslim households. So the future is going to be for Islam. Nobody else is on game. I mean, look at everybody else. Look, Tommy wants to talk all this stuff. Go to France. Go to France where they're mocking Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him, who we love as a prophet, that we respect, that they're taking gays and trans and LGBTQXYZ rainbow flags and dressing up like Jesus and disciples and mocking during the Olympics. And you're not out there doing anything about that. You're not starting any riots. You're not saying, we as Muslims love Jesus. We got nothing. We are productive members of this society. And I'll tell you this, in the UK, because I'm not from here, but I travel here quite a bit. I've been here, right? You go out there, who's opening up businesses? Muslims are. Who's out there in your doctors? You go to any hospital, see how many Dr. Khans you have out there, right? Who's out there? Muslims are. You go out to, the people, even in the ends, even in the hoods, even in the ghettos, Muslims are moving up, right? And who's out there smoking drugs and doing nothing? And, there are people, right? I went out and gave da'wah in Leicester and Nottingham and Manchester, and I was at malls and I was looking at some of these people, they were like zombies, right? So don't blame us. The future is for Islam. If you want to be productive, if you want to stand on game, become Muslim. That's the only game. It's going to be atheism and Islam. That's it, right? And if you want to go stand up for yourselves, go and stand up against your own that are out there mocking your God and doing things that look at how Muslims were respectful in FIFA, in Qatar, how we held on the Quran, even towards other religious traditions. We as Muslims would never allow Jesus to be mocked the way France is allowing it. Why aren't you out there sitting there in Cyprus? Why aren't you out there talking about that? No, because there's
That's not his agenda.
He's just out there trying to make money. If you're one of those EDL guys that's duped by him, pay attention to what I'm saying. He's tricking you. He's not out there in the streets with you. He's sitting in 5-star hotels and Airbnbs in Cyprus.
Who's paying for that?
While you're getting arrested by the police right now, right?
Smoking coke.
Yeah, who's paying for that?
I saw a video of him with some imam here in his house talking about how Islam is wonderful when the Quillam Institute was paying him or something, right? When the money came, he was all pro-Islam. When that money dried up and that Zionist dollar started coming, he started talking all this stuff. So don't get tricked by these people. This is the problem. People don't learn. I'm glad you gave that background. A lot of people may not realize
people don't know that, man. Tommy is a victim from Luton. See, you're from the road. A victim is like in a certain category on road.
Yeah.
Tommy is a victim from road. And that's why, like they say, you heard of short man syndrome and stuff like that. He's got issues with himself. One thing I want to clarify is that, Tate is a Muslim brother. We can't step to him. I know a lot of street guys are very upset with him. Very upset. But you can't, because he's a Muslim. He's made a mistake and hopefully people advise him and he comes back from that mistake. So the reason why I'm passionate about it, bro, we're from that background and we're the ones that are defending our communities back in the past. Now, whatever. So I was very disappointed with the brother, but like I said, I hope someone sits with him and gives him advice and
we have
stuff
something
like that.
in the works.
So this is something, like I said, this is not started now. This has been going on for 50, 60, 70 years now.
But one of the problems...
Let me just touch on one point. Muhammad Hijab made a very important point, and it was good nasiha. And I think you were there that day. Muhammad Hijab said to Andrew Tate, he gave him some advice. He said, you aligning yourself with these far rights, PBD, Tommy, Nick Farage. Yeah. He said they will abandon you because they don't stand on a principle. And what happened with Nick Farage? Nick Farage blamed
Nigel Farage
on the mainstream media. He blamed Andrew Tate.
Threw him under the bus.
No.
And Andrew Tate was upset.
I was going to raise this point about
exactly
5 minutes ago. This Farage, he's a very influential politician, well-spoken. He's like the modern day Enoch Powell, if we know who that is.
Yeah, Enoch Powell, yeah.
He's a dangerous guy because people listen to him. His eloquence, people listen to that stuff. But most of what he's saying, he's lying. And he knows he's lying. So when, I can't remember, who was it that cross-examined him? Was it LBC?
LBC, yeah. It was LBC. That was the interview with...
The Youth in the Morning. What's his name?
James O'Brien.
Who does some good work. But he asked him, he said, so where did you get your information from? So my man said, I got it from Andrew Tate.
No, it wasn't James O'Brien. It was another person from LBC.
Oh, Tom Swarbrick.
Yeah, Tom Swarbrick. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But hear the drama. you're a politician and your source material is going to be this
You
individual.
threw him under the bus.
Exactly.
Uh,
Twitter.
I don't trust any politician, to be honest with you.
No,
They're
not at
all
all. But
capping.
it's just
You know what? The thing is, the reality on the street is this is just people being misused for a political agenda. Tommy or whatever else, they're out there making money. You know,
no. But
Faraj.
who do you believe behind Tommy? He's not on his own.
Look. I mean, I'm not one to shy away from controversy, so I'm gonna be straight about it.
Yeah, of course.
He wears his shirt that says Musa'ad on it.
Yeah,
Who do you think's behind it?
no doubt.
Right? Sincere Christians need to wake up and realize they're being used. Right? These people have been made into Islamophobes. They're not out promoting Christianity. Like I said, if they were going to, then when their God is being mocked as, you know, a rainbow flag wearing trans, they would go and stand on game, but they're not. They're just out talking about Muslims, even though we love Jesus. We love Mary. We respect her. Why? Because they're being manipulated by that Zionist dollar bills, right? So they need to wake up to it. But we as Muslims, alhamdulillah, like, you know, I go out, I was just in Chicago, I was, you know, in Canada. We're the future. The streets are ours. You know, these guys are just, you know, yeah, they can gang up 30 guys on one guy. But if you come out and stand, and that's why I'm here myself, like, you know, and my schedule's posted. If any of these guys want to come out, I'm here. You know, I'm not scared of any of this stuff, right? But the most important thing that I want our brothers now, and this is nasiha for ourselves, you know, like Brother Tate, we'll give him his nasiha. I'm not really too worried about him. Elon Musk, whatever, you know, Trump, whatever. We need to start getting off the streets and changing the streets, changing it to a better place. When I hear about Muslims attacking other Muslims, and that's a very important thing that I want to mention, even if you're not Muslim, if you're a minority, you know, whether you're from the Caribbean or you're African or whatever, and you're out fighting each other, what are you doing? Like, we need to sit down and say, look, these EDL guys are out there trying to pick out one guy and beat him up and all this stuff, but who's harming ourselves the most is each other.
True.
We gotta start supporting our brothers, especially those that are coming out of prison, and starting giving them jobs, giving them ways to make a halal rehabilitation. You know, we need to, when somebody comes out, we have this thing, I don't know about the UK, but in the US we call them prison Muslims.
Yeah.
Meaning that
For Islam.
for Islam, right? When they're locked up, because you know you're locked up, there's no women in there, there's no temptations in there. You know, there is some, you know, stuff, but you're kind of controlled, right?
It's not easy to access.
It's not easy to access, exactly. So you kind of get on the deen, or you become Muslim, or you know, you kind of make tawbah, you ask Allah, oh, Allah, get me out of this, and then Allah takes you out. But then you get back to the ends, you go back to the barrios, the hoods, and you get caught up in the same thing. So it's very important for us as a community now to be like, okay, look, somebody wants to leave the gang life, we got to support them. We got to tell them, look, I'll get you. I know you may fall here and there, but I'll show you how to do it halal. You know, I'll show you how to do it right. It might not be easy, but you got to show them a way. Because if we're not doing that, then we're getting back in that cycle. We have to stand up ourselves. We can't wait for anybody. Like, I hate everybody that sits there and expects anybody else to do things for them. Like, we as a community have to come together and say, look, even if you're not Muslim, but you're being targeted as well, let's get together. Let's sit down. Let's talk it out. If we're on the streets, look, why are we killing? And especially in the UK, you see all this knife crime, young brothers stabbing each other. You know, last night I was giving a dars in the masjid, and mashallah was like 90% youth, and it was packed out the door. But in that masjid, one of the board members, his son had been killed by a knife crime. You know, and I started thinking, like, you know, when you see Muslims stabbing other Muslims, what do you, like, if you're watching, and I don't care if you're from the ends or the hoods or bad, how can you
justify
raise a knife against a Muslim? Wallahi, I'm telling you, like I'm no cap, no filter. Whatever you guys have here, you come to Southern California, we'll take you to barrios that, you know, you'll see what we're talking. You know, you talk about guns. We got 14-year-olds that I buried myself as a child, you know, growing up, because they were shot in the head, and that was normal. We would come on Monday to school and be like, all right, who got killed this weekend? Right? We were raised with that stuff, but wallahi, I've never raised my fist or my tongue or my weapon against a Muslim.
So
I hope I never, ever in my life have to, even if I gotta step on my nafs and my ego and my pride and let it go, I let it go.
May Allah protect us from that time.
Hear that? This is quite common.
What was very interesting to touch upon that is we actually saw it happen during the riots, where I think you were telling me that there were some opposing gangs, but they'd put their feud to the side for the greater cause.
That's right.
So tell us a bit more about that.
Trying to bait me up.
From what you've heard in the documentary.
So obviously, what happened? No, it wasn't a documentary. It was so every area. Obviously, they said they're gonna come to, like they were saying they're gonna go to Hackney, for example. That you're gonna go to Balls. Before I continue today's podcast, guys, I want you guys to check out this company, Altitude. These guys do premium grade shilajit, very high quality. And one very important thing I noticed with this company is the shilajit is tested in the UK in a lab. So it's UK lab tested. They have a barcode on the back, which is very important to check and scan all the details and make sure everything's genuine. The packaging is high quality. I take the shilajit myself, and one little touch I really like that I haven't seen before. I like this. This is a metal kind of gold color spoon. It really looks really nice. Looks really nice quality to take your shilajit with every day. Guys, they're giving a 10% discount if you type in the code KICKUP. Capital letters, KICKUP on the website. Go check it out. All the links and the description box below. Check it out. Green. And it was like, really? I don't think you're going to go to these type of areas. But so we come from an area, it's very multicultural where we come from. White, black, Asian, we live together, and so they said, there's intelligence, the masjid's got intelligence from the authorities that they might try to come and do something. And where we're from, we don't have the numbers they have in Birmingham and parts of London or whatever. Yeah. We could raise a few hundred maybe, but you see Birmingham, they get 2,000-3,000 man, and London and stuff like that. So I said to all the different neighborhoods, if they come here, whatever issue anyone has with each other, for that weekend or while we're protecting our neighborhood, because it's not about us no more. Because they're not going to bother us. They're not gonna try to rush a kid who walks around with a zombie knife. Yeah. Because he's just gonna do something crazy. Yeah. Who are they gonna target? The elderly, the shops. So I said, any beefs that anyone have, I actually put it on. I'm pretty sure I put it on Instagram. I said, anyone who has any beef with each other, it is squashed the moment they came. Alhamdulillah, they never end up going nowhere in the end. They didn't go anywhere.
I think you need to expand on that. See, we need to utilize this opportunity to. And again, this is something that happened with the gangs and kills in California, where, I don't know if you guys, in the 90s, we had this truce, where Farrakhan and them, even though they're, misguided, but they brought the Crips and the Bloods together in LA, and they made a truce. And I mean, for us, in the Mexican side of the gang world, the Sureños and Norteños and things, at times, they've had sit-downs. I mean, prison life, right? In prison, you got the shot callers. At times, you got to sit down and, even with the Aryan Brotherhood, whatever, for us, that's the white guys, you got to sit and talk. But I think it's very important now, having seen this hate, and again, the victims were non-combatants, they were civilians, they weren't even people that were, because that's these cowards. They won't step up to those that they know are men that will handle them, right? There were women and children that were attacked. There were masajid that were attacked, innocent people, right? Even if you look at what happened in New Zealand with that guy, it's not like he stepped into, our end of the towns. Nah, he was out there.
Suburbs.
Exactly.
He went to the suburbs.
So what I'm saying is, we need to expand on that. I think it's not just like, okay, we had this truce now, because, in a week, this is going to be over, right? But what about the future? We need to sit down, bring people from different hoods, different ends, different gangs together and say, look, why are we killing each other? Look, you do what you got to do. I got to do what I got to do. Let's sit and talk things through. Let's work on trying to help each other, in ways. I'm not saying we all got to hug and hold hands, right? But a Muslim especially, the hadith, even if you point your knife at a Muslim, the sins, the haram of it, even just pointing, imagine using that on a Muslim. How could you? When I see Muslims stabbing Muslims here, I don't know what you guys are doing. You got to stop this.
It's quite bad.
Well, we have to recognize that a lot of this stuff is socially engineered. It's not just happening for the sake of happening. Look, we can actually unengineer it.
Exactly. We can't let media control us. We know the kuffar. We know the games that they're playing, but we can't let them use us like that. We're not chess pieces. Even if you're with that EDL stuff, wake up and see that you're being used.
So I want to ask Zeeshan a question. Obviously, you deal with this topics from a bit more academic point of view. Like, what's going on in the UK? What's behind some of these guys, Faraja, and what are they trying to accomplish? Like, what is their goal? Like, just get Muslims beat up? Old man beat up, a woman beat up. What's their goal?
Well, the introduction of Zionism into this whole system, I mean, like that we were discussing, I'm sure the brother can enlighten us further, is the whole point that people and academics talk about is the goal of Zionists to destabilize countries like this. Because the ultimate is to obviously prop up Israel by any means necessary. Anyone that's non-Jewish is seen like a goyim, is someone that is used to prop up their goal. Yeah, and the thing is this, there's a saying, isn't it? They say any accusation is a admission. Yeah, and we saw this with the beheaded babies and all of that sort of nonsense. And a lot of that sort of stuff is absolute garbage. This whole notion that Muslims are taking over. How? When you speak to the people...
But even immigration statistics, talking numbers, not talking opinions, more Hindus are actually immigrating to the UK than Muslims from statistics.
You're absolutely right. Number one, the most migrants in this country are Indians.
Okay.
Then I think we've got Chinese and then Nigerians.
Right?
I think we need to make a distinction between asylum seekers and immigration, because these knuckle draggers, they haven't got a clue that there's this distinction,
But even if you look at asylum seekers, from the statistics that I was reading online, the majority are not Muslim. Even from Africa, it's not just Muslims coming, right? I mean, I was here in London, and I met some of these people that were on that boat that they had put everybody on. I mean, a lot of the ones I met, they were Sudanese Christians, they were Nigerian Christians, a lot of people. So I think, like what you're saying, and just in case some of those people are watching, don't get fooled by propaganda. Look at numbers. Reality is not what they're seeing. Just like the beheaded babies things, this was absolutely false. And it's still, even Elon Musk and all these morons, they're still peddling this stuff.
Naz, let me ask you, obviously, you've seen it was, alhamdulillah. Obviously, the far right from your era and the era now, like how they morph, what's different between the far right and the games they played and now? Because let me just quickly touch on this. Nick Griffin was the leader of one of the biggest racist parties in the UK.
I was hoping to
very important. So I'll just summarize it and let him continue. So Nick Griffin said they approached him, the Zionists, and said, "We want to fund you."
So this was 2013.
So you speak with that.
Before there was like the National Front. I don't know if anybody remembers.
Yeah.
NF, yeah.
I was a little kid in the UK. I remember
The National Front.
BNP, isn't it?
No,
The violent
that
part.
was a completely different movement. The National Front.
NF.
They were proper like skinheads.
They're around and there were a lot of them because of the football and stuff, and because of the political state of the country at that time. It seemed like they pandered to the politicians again, and they were tricked and used. After the National Front came the BNP, which was the British National Party, headed by this individual called Nick Griffin. In 2013, they approached this man and they asked him to do two things, and they would fund his organization. And when he didn't agree, all of a sudden, that was the demise of the BNP. You stop hearing about them. Again, because of the media and politics.
Yeah.
Now, he was approached and asked, and this is on the record, you can see this on YouTube and Rumble. He said they approached him and they asked him to be an adjutant against the British populace and the Muslims that are here, the indigenous people and the Muslims. And not to speak about the banking system and who's behind it, because he was very vocal about this stuff. So he said, I'm not going to do either.
And they said, sorry, you missed the part. They said to send racist individuals into Muslim areas and attack mosques to agitate the Muslims. That's what he said as well. I remember
I don't remember that part.
5 pillars. I'll edit that in here.
No, the actual clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
I watched the podcast.
No, but the actual clip, his original clip.
Okay.
I've seen the 5 pillars thing on the original clip. And he said, I'm not going to do this. He says, I've got my issues with Islam and Muslims, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
You're
his
not gonna
thing is
use
the
me.
old clip. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is from the 2013.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to use me to do that. Then all of a sudden, the demise of the BNP.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these individuals, I'm not praising them, but I'm saying they had some substance to their argument. It's not like this Tommy Robinson guy.
They had ikhlas in the wrong way.
Yeah, this
know,
They were
Yaxley Lennon guy.
sincerely wrong.
No,
This Tommy Five Neums Robinson.
he don't even believe what he's talking
He
about.
doesn't.
doesn't.
That's the problem.
That's
He's
what I
not
was saying.
sincere.
I saw him in a masjid talking about how great Muslims are and how he changed his views by breaking bread with an
And you know what?
imam.
When I watched it, I thought he had changed. And one brother said to me, "Be careful."
Yeah. Yeah.
See, the brother Loki's done a video about
He's
it.
deep.
Yeah, I've got ratings for Loki. If you could,
Talking of Loki, there's a few points that he mentioned that I think is very important for the viewers to know, because just to increase the point that I was
in
mentioning.
regards to the association, this
With Israel.
Rubenstein has with.
Go on.
Yeah, with
Israel.
with Israel in general and the effect that Israel, I would even say that Israel is slowly taking over the UK. Yeah,
Slowly.
yeah, well, insidiously, and in a way that is not apparent to the people, because what these people will go by is, oh, I walk past a shop, mate, and it says halal on there. Why is it halal? Why is the bread halal? But the thing is, how are you gonna take over using halal bread? I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Yeah.
His brother, mashallah, he's got the punchlines.
So when they say this sort of stuff, it doesn't make any sense. Or let's just say it's an Islamic school. Like, what are you gonna do? Teach
Muslimify.
Wait.
teach trigonometry to kind of.
I want to understand something though, right? Like, so when I go around the UK, I see kosher more than I see halal. Every marketplace you go, you pull, not even just in certain neighborhoods, you pull up a piece of bread and you see that K on there, or you see that U on there, even in the US.
People don't know it. That's kosher.
It's
not common knowledge.
How foolish are people not to realize? There's neighborhoods in the UK that are exclusively of one race, religion, that have little curls and all that, right? And little small.
They have their own ambulance. They have their own.
So they have their own police.
Yes, yes.
How do they have their own police? They have their own ambulance.
It's like
When
a
you go
state
to
within a
those
state.
Neighborhoods. Why does the EDL not deal with that? Right? When you talk about, look, and we talk about Elon Musk. Elon Musk started to be like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on in Palestine? Like, he started saying, I'm going to give Starlink internet access to people of Gaza. And then suddenly, the powers that be, because even he may be the richest man in the world, but he's not the richest man in the world, right?
Yeah, he's not,
They
bro.
pulled that string, and suddenly he was out
He
there with
flipped.
that little Ben nerdy guy, whatever his name
how he
is.
Thing is, if we look at what Muslims are actually taking over here in the UK, we got like a little mayor, Sadiq Khan, that peddles the LGBT stuff anyway. Like, what's he actually done of substance that means that we're taking over the country? Put up a few lights in Ramadan or Eid. Come on, bro. Like,
But
this.
he was trying to bring that Shakira law, that.
The Shakira law, yes. Sharia law, they call it.
What?
Shakira law, I think there's another way in LBC. These guys,
They
just.
called up James O'Brien and some knuckle draggers trying to argue with this man who's highly intelligent. He said, that Sadiq Khan is trying to bring that Shakira law.
I think he was watching dance
I
videos.
feel a bit sorry for them, man.
But here's the thing, bro. You know what it is? It's if you actually look at the people that are actually pulling the strings, yeah. And again, it's you can search this stuff up yourself. Yeah, there's a company called Oracle. Yeah, Oracle looks after the data in this country
Databases.
of the Home Office, of the Ministry of Defense, and of the NHS. Yeah, in fact, I put up a clip and people are going, if I didn't know Oracle was backed by Israel. Oracle is owned by Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison is like this with Benjamin Netanyahu, to such a degree that he offered directorship of Oracle to Netanyahu. Yeah, like that's how close they are. And Larry Ellison is one of the highest funders of the Friends of the IDF. Yeah, now Oracle, I had programmers and people in the comments saying, bro, Oracle is massive.
Massive.
To such a degree,
Reading is the main branch.
Huge, yeah.
to such a degree that for people and companies to migrate would take years. Yeah, and this is Oracle, bro. Ministry of Defense Information. You look at Celebrite. Celebrite is a company used by the police to hack people's phones.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and
Based where?
Celebrite, and that's an Israeli intelligence company headed by people from Unit 8200, which again, Israeli intelligence. Yeah, and that means that, and in fact, I think it was Celebrite, that the owner of Celebrite was bragging. This was on Y.net, which is one of the high up of the Israeli news. He was bragging that we have remote control access to this information. Remote control access. This is the data of the civilians in this country, which, let's face it, a lot of people have interactions with the police. You look at NICE systems. Yeah, NICE systems, again, it's used by the Foreign Office.
NICE. Yeah.
Yeah, it's used by the Foreign Office, and it's used by police and investigations as well.
Hasn't Sunak and his family got some serious shares in one of these companies?
In Infosys,
yeah,
which is again linked to Israeli intelligence as well.
See the web.
But
Yeah,
here's what's interesting with NICE. The person that owns NICE systems, NICE is actually a subsidiary of Elbit Systems. And Elbit Systems, people that are familiar with the work that Palestine Action are doing, Elbit Systems had and probably has one or two places here in the UK. It's the biggest Israeli arms company abroad. Yeah. And last but not least, British Telecom, BT. Everybody knows BT. Yeah. And BT is owned by a French Israeli called Patrick Drahi. But he owns a news station called I-24, and they were the first ones to peddle this false notion of 40 beheaded babies. It originated from I-24. And I-24 is, it's a news station that was created to be, it's, in tandems with the Netanyahu family, founded by, it's somewhat of an offshoot of Haaretz. And he also funds organizations to work on these settlements as well. So the thing is, you want to talk about the people that are taking over the UK. I mean, data, information. What are Muslims actually doing? Like, leave it in the comments. What are Muslims actually doing?
Selling
other than
kebabs and pizzas.
I mean, with all due respect, putting up a few lights, giving da'wah and giving free copies of the Quran. Why don't you see people giving free copies of the Talmud?
Yeah, if you read it.
That's exactly the point. And the Sheikh,
That's a nice segue.
You can elaborate more on this. Like when they talk about, this Sharia punishment, and this is what is said about in the Muslim scriptures and this and that. Well, hang on a minute. Have you even read the Old Testament?
Obviously, they have not.
You know what I mean?
I mean, not just look. In you guys are Muslims. Tell me this: how do we view Jesus?
With love and respect.
Top 5 prophets.
We love him. We respect him. We believe he was born to a miraculous birth. We believe that Mary was a virgin. We believe that he was a true Messiah, a true messenger who brought a true message. He was the only way to God in his time as the prophet of the time. We even when we say his name, what do we say? Peace and blessings be upon him. In the Talmud, it says that Jesus is being boiled right now
Human excrement.
in excrement, in poop, in feces.
Let me stop you. Sorry, you got to explain that again because this is important, man.
And again,
You did say the Talmud, right?
Explain
it's
explain
in
to
the
the
Talmud,
people
yeah.
what the Talmud is, because there's laymen
so
here.
there is the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. There is the rest of the Old Testament, Kings and Chronicles and all of that. Talmud is rabbinic writings based on it, and this is a foundation of the Jewish belief system.
It's like a commentary.
It's a commentary, but it is also, it's more than just opinion. This is what a lot of Jewish tradition today is based on Talmud, not the Torah. Even if you look at a lot of the dress code.
Can we qualify there's 2 Talmuds as well?
What do you mean?
We have the Babylonian Talmud.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's many.
And you have the Jerusalem Talmud.
There
These are the
is.
2 main ones that they refer to.
Those are the 2 main ones, but there are many writings, but they are taken as pure scripture, meaning that they're acted upon. Like, for example, tafsir in Islam, we can see a qawl and a tafsir are not accepted, right? It's not the same. Talmud is actual law.
It's mandatory.
It's mandatory, right? And that's why a lot of the customs that you see today, like I was in Quds, in Palestine, may Allah free it, and I saw the some of the practices where they would take the live chicken and put it on their head. So me, just being a person who likes to study religion and I'm curious, I asked them, where is this in the Torah? Did Moses do this? Did David do this? Peace and blessings be upon them. And they said, no, this is what we find from the rabbinic writing. So their idea of those kinds of writings is that that's law, right? So it's not just an opinion somewhere. So in the Talmud, and this is something pointed out by academic Christians who actually read, right? They say that Jesus, if you're a Christian and you're watching, who you consider to be God, is currently boiling in feces, in excrement, in I don't know how to put it more politely, and is going to be till the day of judgment, continuously boiling because he was a false Messiah. In the Talmud, it says that Mary was a Zania, was somebody who committed fornication.
They say that.
That Jesus was not more miraculously, that he was a false rabbi, that he was a false Messiah, a false prophet.
His father was a Roman soldier. Many insults.
These things are there in the Talmud, and you can go look it up. Don't take my word for it. Go look it up, right? And knowing this, there are videos, and I'm sure you've seen, of people in Israel spitting on Christians, you know, speaking to them, telling them the worst things that I could not repeat out of respect for Jesus as a Muslim who loves Jesus, peace and blessings. I have a hat that I wear in da'wah. It says, I love Jesus. You know, we love Jesus. Like, this is the funny thing. We are, even with Mary, like there's a whole surah in the Quran. If you're not Muslim, you're watching, go get the Quran, find Surah Maryam.
Chapter
It's
19.
An entire chapter 19 in the Quran, Surah Maryam, right? In fact, she's the only woman explicitly mentioned by name in the Quran. That's a respect.
Even the Christians don't revere Mary like we do.
No. I mean, like I said, the stuff that just went on in France, and this is why a lot of this is backed by those same people,
Yes.
right?
But that woman that was depicted as Jesus, there's an article in which she admits.
A woman, are you?
No,
guessing-
she
are you
says
assigning her gender. No, I'm just kidding.
she said, "I'm a lesbian Jew." So
That's her words.
those are her words, and that's why you've got people like Candace Owens, Dan Bilzerian, and even Tate as well. You know, outing these people, and they're furious. They're actually
Sorry,
Yeah.
you want to finish?
yeah.
Where do we stand with people like Candace Owens? Let me ask you that. As Muslims.
Look, we stand with everybody who does good in the good they do, right? One thing that personally, this is my personal opinion, is I don't big up any of these people because any of these people online, in the end, for clout, for money,
Switch.
for influence,
Like Musk.
they will switch, like Elon Musk, right? So I don't put too much credit into it. Look, what I'm about is we need to do this ourselves, right? We know, and to be honest, anybody with half a brain that's semi-awake knows what's going on with the banking system. You tell me, you look at Hollywood, and you just go do a search, numbers, statistics. I'm not talking about conspiracies, numbers, right? What percentage of Hollywood is white Christian? You think no white Christian knows how to act, right? What percentage of the CEOs of banks in America, in the UK, are white Christians? You don't know how to count money, right? You know, what percentage go to the US Senate, the US Congress, look at the representation, right? So if you're white and you're a Christian and you're upset, go look at your statistics, right?
That's real, it's true, yeah.
Think about that.
Of course.
Right?
Oh, I know,
Sometimes I kind of withhold due to people's platforms and stuff, and I don't want to get people censored or
of course, yeah.
demonetized or whatever they call it. But there's so much that needs to be unpacked that people don't speak about. So if we can rewind and go back some centuries, this is what I find really interesting. The Nabi of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we believe in the Isra and the Miraj. No doubt we have to believe. Article of faith. We have to believe this. The Prophet alayhi salam, he traveled from Masjid al-Aqsa into the heavens, and one of the prophets he interacted with mostly was Musa alayhi salam. Sir?
Yes.
So he saw Musa and interacted with him at least 5 times. The Prophet ﷺ, he described Musa, and he said Musa was aswad shadidan. And in English, this is extremely black. And he also, in another narration, said that Musa, he resembled the people of Azut, which was a black Arab tribe. So they were, contrary to what people believe, black Arab tribes. Okay? So, in my humble opinion, based upon my Afrocentrism before I was a Muslim. I knew Musa was a black man. This Charlton Heston Hollywood thing, I was never on that. So I find it strange today that Musa and the Beni Israel were black people. And there's still remnants of those people like in Ethiopia, the Beta Israel, B-E-T-A. And we have the Sephardim. They're the kind of the Jews that were in Andalus. But why is it we find these Ashkenazim, they have this prominence as Jews to the point where you don't even know there are other people that are Jews? And when did these Caucasians that weren't with Moses, when did they become the children of Israel? Because today, I believe this is a gross identity theft. They've stolen an identity and they're benefiting from this thing. Now, I spoke to some brothers.
The European.
Yeah, I spoke to some.
I mean, I think that there was I don't know if you correct me if I'm wrong. There's a law where they don't want to do DNA tests.
Yes, yes,
in Israel.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but
Yeah.
Ashkenazis, I mean, if you do look at DNA wise,
Poland.
they're not from that land. They're not from.
They're not indigenous to that
to the
place.
people, right? In fact, you know what's interesting? Like for me, race wise, whatever. But even a religious perspective. You know, the religious practices right now, when I was there in Quds, because I like to learn, like I'm open-minded. I saw they were wearing these big furry hats, the big black coats, the big, the little bowler hats and all that. So I asked, I like to learn. I asked a man, I said, hey, where did this start? And he was a rabbi and he was educated, man. He said, in
Ukraine, that region there.
I think Poland.
Poland.
There was a king, but the same region, Eastern Europe, right? There was a king that wanted to mock the Jews, so they made him wear fox tails. So the foxtail was taken as a joke, as to make fun of them. He made them wear fox tails on their heads. So they said, let's own it. They said, let's just take this and own it. And they started to wear those big furry hats. And I said, but that's got nothing to do with the Talmud. It's got nothing to do with the Torah. It's got nothing to do with Moses.
Folklore.
It's got nothing. It's exact European traditions. And today that's being brought into the Holy Land over there and brought. I mean, if you're a Christian and you're watching, have you seen the churches that have been bombed in Gaza, in Palestine?
The oldest church, in fact.
The oldest. In fact,
Yeah.
the bishop of Gaza and the preachers of Palestine, Christian Palestinians, were talking about how they're being killed and how they're being persecuted. Why don't you care about that? That's why I said it's all political. But what I want to talk about is solutions. Anybody with half a brain that's half awake knows what's going on, right? How are we going to solve it? We, the people that are awake, that do realize, whatever Muslim and non-Muslim from the ends, we need to come together. We need to say, okay, enough's enough. This is a wake-up call. We see within a couple of days of a false rumor what would happen. Let's sit together and say, okay, we need to bring peace. Bring peace to our neighborhoods. We need to put them knives away. We need to help brothers get to a halal path. If you're out of prison, we're going to help you try to get a job. We're going to try to get you.
That's so important.
That's very
Because
important.
prison, in and of itself,
There's
it does
no
not
help.
rehabilitate. Prison
Let me tell
don't
you.
rehabilitate.
Prison in the US more than the UK is an industry for those same people to make money.
There's something very important that you what you mentioned. I just clicked. There's a brother in prison we have right now in the UK. His name's Abdul Rahim. He was known as Chaos. So he's a revert brother. He was a non-Muslim, street life, ended up getting a life sentence. So he's in prison now.
South London.
South London, yeah, very well known guy.
I know the youth,
Yeah, very well known. He's about 5-6 years older than me. So he's gone to prison. Obviously, he had a chance to learn Islam. So he's said to the brothers in jail, "We're Muslims. We shouldn't sell drugs.
Good.
To no one. I mean, don't sell drugs to anyone, to Muslims or non-Muslims. We should not fight each other.
Good.
If a Muslim is getting oppressed, we help him.
Good.
If he's the oppressor, we tell him chill out.
We stop him from being.
We stop him,
There's hadith on
you know?
this, yeah.
So obviously, how when you're new in Islam, how it is, Iman is high. On the wing, he will say to the brothers, turn your music down, things like that. Do you know what they done to him? They said to him, you're an extremist. He's been in jail 20 years now. He has spent roughly probably 10 years in solitary confinement.
It drives a man crazy.
We call it adjudication. You know when you get in trouble?
Yeah.
Let's say you got caught with the phone, you have a fight, they call it an adjudication. Slang is a nicking. He has never had one guilty adjudication. His file is crystal clean. But they say to him, you are the leader of the Muslims. So what happened recently in prison, just because, you know, he's a respected brother, he's not an imam, he doesn't have knowledge, but people respect him. So he went onto a wing one day, they were selling spice. The Muslims.
What's spice?
He said spice is like
synthetic cannabis or something.
it's hard to explain, but it's like a chemical type of drug. It used to be legal in the UK, then they criminalized it. So he said it's worth a lot of money. I'll give you an example. How much do you think an ounce of weed is in prison in the UK? If I was to guess, I would say about £1,000.
Wow.
You know, it's crazy because in the UK even tobacco's banned. If you smuggle tobacco into prison, you become rich because it's worth so much now. They banned it about 10 years ago, right? So anyway, so they have oppressed this brother so much, and his family says, but what has he done? He must have done something.
He brought peace.
They said this, and you got to remember something. In this EDL mentality, some of these prisons are in vicinities in the UK where there's no coloured people there. So you know what they said? When he goes on a wing, he tries to make the Sharia law there. And they said, how's that? He said he tells brothers to stop. The officer said he tells people to stop selling drugs and turn their music down.
Wow.
And you know, in prison, you have a decorum that, you know, especially in high security prisons, they call them Cat A's and Cat B's. Cat A's are higher ones, and then obviously dispersals and stuff. There's a decorum there that you turn your music down after there's people who've been there 20 years, they're getting old, and you turn your music down. So he's kind of trying to do what's right. But they've oppressed the brother just for that, you know? So this is like an important point I want to touch on. The reason...
This is very important. And that's what I'm saying is, we know what's going on. We know who's doing it. We know why they're doing it. We know what their goal. What we need to do is fix it now. We need to be there for each other. We need to tell somebody, okay, look, you come out of prison, you're my brother. I'm going to show you a good path. I'm going to take time out from my day to help you find a job. I'm going to get you, like in our masjid, we do resume writing, right? If somebody becomes Muslim and they're homeless or they're, you know, I'm good at resumes. So I sit down with them, hey, let me show me your resume. You don't have one, let me help you write one. Let me tell you how to get it out there. Let me get you how to go to
That's like a CV, I guess.
Your CV, sorry, yeah, you guys call them CVs, yeah.
In Britain.
Yeah, in the United Kingdom.
You know, the way they've kind of framed it in the UK now, you know, with the help of people like Swella Braverman and, you know, these Zionist-backed people, that even if you're trying to practice your religion peacefully,
you're an extremist.
You are looked at as an extremist.
You know what? I'm not even worried about that. Let them. If they want to call me a fundamentalist, I'll be the funnest fundamentalist I'll ever meet. You know, I don't care about labels they put on me. I care about my brothers. The problem that I'm seeing, especially in the UK, is when the brothers are fighting each other, throwing labels on each other. You know, you want to wear a hijab and have a beard, you're a Wahhabi. You know, if you want to do this, you're an extreme. When your own Muslim brothers are putting those out there, that's where I get upset.
Muslims are trying to destroy you.
Listen, when the drama started the other day, the EDL ain't looking at a man saying, boy, he's a Wahhabi or he's Salafi or he's brilliantly. Listen, you're all fair game, mate.
You know, look at what happened in Bosnia. You know, when the genocide happened, and the Serbs didn't care whether you made Salah or not.
Now, if you look at the historical corruption of European thinking, it goes back to those Roman times with the gladiators. You're fighting each other for the entertainment of the elite.
Exactly.
It's true,
Yeah, it's a mad thing.
And
it still exists now. All this big boxing and stuff. It's the same thing.
I do find that sad when I see like Muslims like fighting with Muslims online even.
Yeah.
You know, I find it a bit embarrassing, you know?
You know what was crazy was the word Paki. They were using that term even for Rishi Sunak. A Hindu, Indian,
for Romanians,
Prime Minister Ali Dawa. I mean, he's Kurdish. Even he was called a Paki as well.
Everyone's a Paki.
So,
And-
This is what people don't realize, that this term Paki, and even certain people, I don't want to out him, we've mentioned him a couple of times, but depicting a migrant as a brown guy with a
And a
knife,
boat, yeah.
coming in a
Yeah.
boat.
Who says that stuff as a Muslim?
When the second guy that did the stabbing was a white Romanian guy. But I mean, no one was mentioning that.
That,
No
yeah.
one's depicting migrants as white people, and there's this very clever use of linguistics as well. When a brown person or a black person goes to another country, oh, they're a migrant, they're an asylum seeker. When a white person goes, oh, they're an
Expat, yeah.
expatriate. You know
Well,
what I mean?
look at all the Ukrainians. How come they were all being welcomed? When the war in Ukraine broke out, all these Polish people were welcoming them.
Yeah.
When Syria war broke out, aren't those human beings?
Yeah. You know,
Yeah, there's a way that they dehumanize people that they don't want to cater for.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've come to realize something from my own, like,
When I say they,
yeah,
you know, the powers
the
that
powers
be.
that be
You know
elites.
what you-
I've come to realize one thing: it's still the colonizer mentality.
Yeah.
They still have that, you know, but it's just now formatted differently. Just know what I mean? They tell it. It's a bit more subtle now, but ultimately they
It's still
believe
there,
their
yeah.
blood is more important than our blood.
And a lot of those white kids in the hood are also the victims of the same thing. Like, you think Trump, the billionaire, and Elon Musk care about poor white people? They don't.
This is white casualty. They pay the price.
Actually,
Yes.
wallahi, you know, the unity thing though is important, man. You
But
know,
we need to act on this. Like, I'm saying, me and you, and we need to sit together and get other brothers together, and we need to have some kind of system for the brothers coming out of prison to get the support they need.
Yeah, protocol.
100%.
You know,
Definitely.
we did this in our areas. You know, the MA, if you did enough time and you came out, you know, we would make sure your family's taken care of. It's the Mexican mafia. We would make sure that when you came out, your bills were paid, your house, you had a resource. And many of those people, when they, for example, if you were the son of a MA member, and he would say, look, I don't want him in the gang, we would make sure that kid goes straight. We would make sure that kid goes to school, right? So a lot of that has to be brought into the UK. Or we have to sit down with people that are leaders in the ends.
How
the hood.
practical is that to make that happen? If we, like Sheikh saying, get some of the leaders around the table.
you know, Zeeshan, the first thing is what he's saying is on every level though. It's not just a street level. Brothers are tearing each other online.
Look, I want to make that point. Sorry, you know, I get attacked online a lot. A lot of people from the UK, you've never seen me attack back. You know, it's not that I'm scared, and it's not that I don't have the platform.
I understand what he's doing. Yeah.
I got more viewers than them. I got more subscribers than them. I got more hood than them. Wallahi, some of these guys that talk about boy and this and that, if I see them in person, we'll see where they're at. There's a brother, and I'm not mentioning his name, right? I called him up recently in the UK. I was like, look, you made this video about me. What did I say about you? Nothing. Oh, these brothers were... No. What did I say about you? Nothing. How did I respond? Nothing. I'm reaching out to you. Let's go have tea. Let's go sit down and talk. If you got something to say to me, let's talk it out. Because we're brothers. If I wanted, I could take that YouTube drama and get views, but I'm not about that.
When I first became a Muslim, this bab of critiquing other Muslims, it wasn't there. This door has been opened by a particular individual. I ain't going to mention his name because
Yeah, we know.
this thing about refuting people and looking for people's errors and mistakes just so you can place people down, so you raise yourself. This is despicable.
It's horrible.
I say publicly, I hate this stuff. And those people that are on that, I hate you. I'm not shying away from that because of the problems it causes and the divisiveness, the separation. It don't bring the Muslims together. It don't bring strength. It just weakens us.
You know, there was a brother, and you know who he is. You know, he made videos before I even came to the UK. He made videos about me. I didn't respond. When I saw him in person at your spot, I pulled him to the side. So let's talk, bro. Right?
Nothing to say.
If you got something to say to me, let's talk. Take my number. If you got advice, I'm open. If I'm doing something wrong, advise me, bro. Like, why would I want to be on wrong? Right? And from the spectrum that you have in the UK, I've been attacked from all sides of it. And I haven't responded at all. It's not that I can't. It's not that I don't. I mean, alhamdulillah, by the will of Allah, I have more, you know, subscribers than all of them. Right? But I don't do that because that doesn't benefit the ummah. I think of the benefit of the ummah, not myself. And I want the UK Muslim community to step into that mindset. Stop beefing with each other. Stop sitting there throwing labels on each other. We have one Allah. We have one Quran. We have one Nabi alayhi salatu salam. We believe in the same Sahaba, the same Salaf of this Ummah. We love the Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad. Wallahi, I love all of them.
Did we not discuss this off of camera before?
So,
The brother
if
king?
me and you disagree on an issue, instead of you trying to cause drama, when I was coming to the UK, I said, save the drama for your mama, right? And all these UK kids were like, oh my God, he's talking about people's mothers. You know?
It's a saying, isn't it?
No. So let me explain this, right? Like what that means is your mother loves you. If you want to complain and just go off on a rant, your mother will listen to you. Go talk to her. Save your drama for your mother because she'll listen to you. I don't need you on YouTube going back and forth like little kids because that's not benefiting the ummah. You're ruining the youth. Some of the youth that come to the deen, when they see online du'at wasting their time, just personal attacks, they fall off the deen. That's why I don't engage in it.
You know, and I want to go back to the point, that question that he asked originally, how we got to this topic is, so this unity is everywhere, not just the street, online and everything. And look at this here, wallahi, the brotherhood between the Muslims in prison is beautiful. It's actually beautiful. Why is it beautiful? Because now we are in an environment where we have to stick together.
Yes.
So I could tell you a story. You know, he's from South London, near Brixton, Stockwell. So we were in prison together. So I was on a wing. I was there for a very long time. So the wing was all white. I was the only Muslim on there. But because of my position in the street, there was a boss, a white guy. He was like the boss of the white guys. He's from Romford, by East London. He was like the main guy for the white guys. So me and him was cool. So I was cool. I was the only Muslim on there, but no one bothered me. But I could see a lot of the racist guys didn't like me. But you know, it's just, you just keep it moving.
Your time.
So the marshal, the brother from Brixton, Stockwell, he's landed in the prison the first day. So when you come into prison new, they give you a smoker's pack or a non-smoker's pack. If you're a smoker, they give you tobacco, Rizla. This is back then, they don't do it no more. Or they give you a non-smoker's pack, you just get some sweets and things like that.
You get sweets in prison?
It's a pack of, like, you know, food basically, noodles and stuff like that. Every
We
Joe.
don't get nothing
I
but
don't
slippers
think
and
they do.
clothes.
I don't think they do it anymore. It was called a smoker's pack, non-smoker's pack. So one thing about the brothers from South London, they're very staunch, and they don't back down. You know, so the brothers in the shower, the 3 white guys go in there, and they want to rob him. It's youth offenders. Basically, we're all around 18. So I didn't see this happen. They've walked in and they want the pack. He's from South London, bro. He ain't giving you no pack. So he's for all 3 of them. They never got the pack. Alhamdulillah. But obviously he's upset. They try to step to him. And this brother is a stand-up brother from the road. I haven't even seen the guy because he's just moved in onto the wing. He's walked onto the wing. He's looked around. I'm the only Muslim-looking guy he's seen. He walked up to me. He just told me what happened. So I was, you Muslim? He's like, yeah, I'm Muslim. I said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to get my get back. I want to get in now. So I said, okay, cool, no problem. Like, I'm down.
Yeah.
You were oppressed. You didn't go oppressed.
I got your back.
And you could Google this guy's name. So this guy now, he said to him, I said, let's go. But I said, hold on, let me do a little strategy move.
Yeah.
The boss on the wing, the guy's name is Wayne Collins from Romford. He's in jail now doing a life sentence for killing someone with a machine gun. You could Google his name, Wayne Collins, Romford. I went to Collins because he's the boss of the white guys. So I said to him, yo, listen, we're going to step to these 3 guys. Where do you stand with this? He said, yo, I'm with you. He said, tell your guy to throw the first punch. Because he's from Romford. He wasn't racist. He grew up with Muslims, black people, whatever.
It's not a race thing.
Wallahi, them 3 guys got destroyed, battered. And they got battered by other white people also. So it wasn't just because when the brother Collins gave the word to his people, said, yo, if these guys start, because I was close with the brother, we were on the same wing, and you know, bosses recognize bosses basically.
Yeah, of course, shot callers.
So he said, look, if these guys make a move, everyone join in. And thingy. But what I mean is, actually, I didn't even know the brother, the Muslim brother. But I had no choice.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? Because he was getting oppressed.
One of the things I think is missing, even when somebody comes out of prison, usually, at least what we see in the US, they want to go straight.
Yeah, they have good intent.
A lot of
They
you're
do.
right. A lot of people end up back on the streets because they can't get stable in work.
Exactly.
It happened to my friend the other day.
Exactly.
He came out. He was looking for a job here, looking for a job there. I get a phone call. Yo, he's selling drugs again. Bam. You know,
That's it.
don't want to say his name.
Yeah.
He's back
Again.
He's back in jail.
Allah Mustaan, that brother there, man.
I don't want to say his
I'm gonna
name.
edit it.
Yeah,
Obviously,
but you know what? He's a good youth, you know,
but he's
bro.
a good brother, man.
You know, if you ever meet this guy, you know, he's a nice guy, you know, he's just
But
circumstance.
that's my point. Look, I grew up with gangsters. A lot of them were really good guys.
Mm.
You know, people in the movies make them out to be these monsters. These are people, family people that defended their mothers and sisters, but they need resources.
The resources.
We as a Muslim community, we need to say, okay, look, you own a restaurant, you know, there's a brother that came out, good guy, I'll take responsibility for him, hire him. And if he messes up, I'll put him back in check. But, you know, get people to have a way out. Because a lot of people, when they come out of prison, because they've seen how horrible prison is, they want to go straight. But when they don't have options on the street, they go back to the filth because they don't know better, right? As a convict, when you come out trying to get an apartment, trying to get a house, trying to get help, you know, maybe your baby mama's got your kids away from you and you want to see your kids and you can't, you know, a lot of that messes you up. So we need to I'm sick of talking. I'm sick of blaming others. I'm sick of talking about who do what. I'm about action. You know, let's do this. Let's get some people together. Let's sit down. Let's get some resources together. Let's start, you know, something.
If I may, I
like-
think that one of our problems is, with due respect, and it's controversial, but the traditional masjids, they ain't helping this thing.
Yeah, of course. They have.
Because they're not equipped. They're not equipped
When I was
to deal with this problem.
When I was a little kid in the UK, I was in Manchester, and again, I was a little kid. I was going to school, and the National Front at that time was, you know, even in our elementary school, they would have those kids.
Active.
Yeah, they were active. We used to see the graffiti and Packy go home and all this
NF.
stuff. NF. You know, and the funny thing is, you know, a lot of times the kids that were beating up were Indians or Bengalis, but you know, they were calling them Pakis because again, they don't care. They're not intelligent enough to understand. It's just a racist mentality. But the funny thing that I remember, which is sad, is that sometimes when the Bengalis would get into it, the Pakis wouldn't back them. The Pakistanis would get into it, the Bengalis wouldn't back them. And that was so sad for me to see. And they would be like, it's a Pakistani masjid, a Bengali masjid. And I hate that stuff. A masjid is a masjid for Allah. The masajid are for Allah. They're for the Muslims. It's got nothing to do with race or nationality or language. Forget all that. But I'm sick of even blaming those elders. Okay, those elders, let them go sit there, speak Urdu all they want. I don't care about them. For me, we got to be the solution. We're the next generation. Like, we saw that problem. Okay, I know the problem. I'm done with that. Let's do this. Let's sit together. Let's get brothers together. Let's start putting resources together. We're not going to solve things 100%. That's not what we're looking. Like you said earlier, we're not looking for perfection. But we're taking a step in front of Allah. I can say, look, I did my part. You know? Like,
There is a lot of disunity in the UK. In the UK, I don't know about America and that, but in the UK, it's bad, man.
the Muslim community in the UK is much better than America in many ways.
Many ways, yeah.
Halal food and mashallah masajid and all this stuff. Businesses and all, you know, all kinds of stuff. Mashallah, may Allah bless you guys. But one thing I see a lot in the UK is this disunity and this drama. And you'll see one street with 4 masajid, you know, and each one just sitting there, you know, this stupidity, you know.
It's true, yeah, 100%.
And for me, when I come from the outside, this is one of the benefits I have is that I'm not involved in this drama, right? I see you, you're my brothers, you know. I don't care which masjid you go to. Look, we're Quran, Sunnah, you love the way of the Salaf al-Ummah, you have respect for the Sahaba, the way we all agree, khalas, we're brothers, you know. And we have to get to that, otherwise.
Because sometimes the reason why I mentioned these masajid, especially some of the ones that are claiming that they're upon the Sunnah and so on and so forth, you people, you can get resources from the public, but lay folk like us, we can't get no resources. So where those resources are just sat dormant, not doing nothing, them resources could go to help these people with this coming out of prison thing.
So the way
like a support network.
The way the UK is based in the community is usually the masjid, the local masjid would get a lot of the funds, right? From the community. Do you understand what I mean? So they have resources, but sometimes because of the ideology, it doesn't.
Bro, why don't we put it out there like a Muslim job app a Muslim job app. If there's
That's a good
somebody
idea.
there, yeah, we start something like that. Because if you think about it, anyone going job center is either Monster or Indeed or one of these sites. If you got a Muslim job app, because even some brothers, they're working in employment that they're saying, look, it's very difficult for me to practice my religion. Why don't you work for a Muslim or someone like that? But somebody that matches my thing or this or that, have an app that we all kind of push out, and it's, you know, made by somebody reliable, and then it's got that thing that, and then we can have adverts on there like, okay, and
Housing, etc.
a re-offenders
Exactly.
program.
Housing,
Yeah.
job, we can do an app. But what I'm saying is the step that has to be taken, and I know the challenges, and you all know the challenges. I don't even care about them, to be honest, right? All the big organizations, if they don't want to help, it's okay. We don't need them, right? Us right here, we get a few other influential brothers in the hoods. I don't even care about online influence. I'm talking about people that run the streets, you know, and get them together and say, look, let's start bringing some peace. Let's start resolving some issues. You know, you got a beef with this brother, you Muslims. Instead of you handling it on the streets, let's sit down, have some tea. We're Muslims. Look at the Quran, look at the Sunnah, and solve it amongst us. And if we start on a micro level, it'll grow to a macro level.
Let me ask you a practical question here. It's a crazy question.
I like practical.
So let me ask you a practical question.
Go for it.
There's two Muslim guys. They've fallen out over a drug deal. One guy believes other guys. So it's haram, yeah?
It's haram.
Both ways. But it's going to lead to violence.
Mhm.
So someone now to interject in there, is it permissible?
Yes.
Even though
Yes.
the resolution's got to be, money's got to go one way or the other.
Yes.
Because what the greater...
And let me explain this, right? When we look at the Sharia, when you look at, I mean, I got my master's in hadith. It's not that I haven't studied the Sharia, like I understand, right? We look at the first thing of the lesser of the greater evils, right? This is a principle in Sharia, right? When we look at the death of a Muslim, the blood of a Muslim being spilled, this is one of the worst outcomes from the maqasid of Sharia, from the goals of Sharia, is to protect life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you are going to kill this brother and I have to, you know, give you money to bribe you, for example, not to kill him, bribery is haram, but at this moment to save his life, I can, right? I'll give you an easy example. Anybody watching understand. As a Muslim, if you're starving and you're in the desert, you got nothing to eat except pork, what are you going to do?
You got to eat that
You
pork.
You got to eat that pork. You're dying of thirst. You're going to die. You got nothing but wine.
Got to drink that wine.
Now, wine is haram. I'm never going to justify it. I am not, don't take me wrong, right? I'm not going to justify it, but we do understand that situation. If this situation, you're going to have a murder, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to solve it between you. And I'll advise you, like, look, bro, get out this game. I'm not saying it's okay, but to save your life, I will make a decision who's right, who's wrong, and stop it. And that's, again, I mean, in the Pashtun areas, we have the jirga system. We have this all the time.
Yeah.
Lord Jebla.
Yeah. The lawyer jirga, man, you know your stuff, bro. I like it.
Come on, bro.
Another question that comes up a lot to me that people ask me and I'm not qualified to answer it. I'm not a da'i, I'm a layman. I'm jahil, basically. But it's a question because of my background, it comes to me a lot. So a lot of brothers who are drug dealers, they obviously have drug money. So when they talk about, you know, practicing or whatever, that topic always comes up. I said, bro, start practicing first. Then we deal with that next.
Exactly.
So what's your advice on that?
Look, one thing I want to say, because of this question, because of that background, beautiful hadith, sahih hadith, of the man that killed 99 people. Like, he killed 99 people, right? In the Sharia, if you kill somebody, they have a haqq on you. Their family, there's a blood money you have to pay, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at that moment, when He shows us this example through the authentic hadith, when He went to the man and said, can I repent? Can I be forgiven? Now, that man was a zahid. He was somebody, you know, who saw a pious man, but not
an alim.
Not knowledgeable. So a pious person, a sin seems like a huge, it's like 99 murders, no way, right?
He made him 100.
So he made him 100, exactly.
100.
Right? Now, how did he fix the situation? That's the important part for this, Yani. He didn't go back to those 100 and try to solve it first, which is the right on them. But the first thing he said, leave your environment. Leave the filth you're in, your end, your hood, the ghetto, the barrio. The place, like we were talking about when we began this, you gotta cut it off. You gotta go to the place of the pious. You gotta change your environment. Then once you're there, we're gonna solve the rest of the stuff. So like you said, if you got drug money, right now I'm not worried about you trying to get rid of your money. I'm worried about you no longer being involved in that lifestyle, not getting stabbed or stabbing somebody else or shooting or being furthering that. Get away from it first. Go invest it. I deal with a lot of brothers, not necessarily in that game, but that had money through haram ways, influencer and stuff, that became Muslim. A lot of them were like, look, I got this through commercial for this and that. I said, look, invest in something halal so you can start getting halal money, so that you can leave that lifestyle. And I'm not I'm not saying we don't go to the scholars overseas. Of course, we love them, we respect them. They're more knowledgeable. But if you're gonna ask me about cryptocurrency and you don't know how it works, then it's difficult to answer on it, right? If you're gonna ask me about the hood and you don't know what the hood's about, and this is what one thing great Sheikh Ibn Uthman, one of the great scholars, of our time, rahmatullah alayh, he was asked a question about a medical issue. And he said, you have to get this fatwa from a doctor, because I'm not a doctor. Understand the medicine of it, and then we'll get the fatwa from you. And that's his intelligence. So, I mean, this is just off the fly, but I'm proposing this. You guys are on the streets here, right? You guys, I'm not saying you're involved in it, but you know about it, right? Get some of these brothers together. We make a shura, right? We get somebody of knowledge, somebody that they know, that they respect, that we can have make decisions, that can solve some of these disputes. Then we reach out to Muslim businesses. We don't worry about masajid and organizations and their politics and their culture and their nonsense. We start reaching out and say, look, we got our brother coming out. Can you find him a job? We got our brother can you find him housing? We got this going on. We start organizing it, grassroots kind of stuff. And we can make a big difference.
Do for self.
Do for self.
You have to.
Just another thing as well, sorry. So there was a brother, he unfortunately went to prison. He was a street guy. So, they're on the streets making money or whatnot. So what I said to him, what I wanted to do, I wanted to take like 30 people from the streets to Umrah. But because they're on the streets, they're making money. Each one of them, because remember they're like 25, 35, 40, each one of them pays for a youngster to go also.
Let's do it.
Like, a lot of people say, but it's haram money or whatever. But I was like, okay, look, I understand that. And I'm not saying it's accepted or not accepted. But I said, let's put them in that environment first.
Exactly.
And see if they change and whatever. Unfortunately, the brother went to jail for shooting someone. So he couldn't end up going. But
let's do it. I mean, look, I'm going for Umrah in the end of October. I go at least once a year, inshallah, sometimes more. We can do it. Set it up. I'll go with them, right? I mean, if some of them can't afford it, I'll pay for it myself from my halal money. No problem, right?
Because no doubt, that environment, when you make a Umrah or a Hajj, the environment changes. You're spiritual,
And there's a difference between the fiqh of whether it's accepted or not,
and the experience.
And the experience. The change of environment, right? Yeah. Seeing the haramain, seeing the ulama, seeing the Quran being recited, in where it was revealed,
Yeah.
Like when we go for Umrah, we go out to Badr, we go out to Uhud, we go out to places and explain the seerah.
Some ziyarat.
Yeah. Not tabarrukan, but to understand the seerah.
You see what I found amazing when Allah blessed me to visit the land? I felt a spiritual presence within myself. I didn't really discuss it, but it just made me feel a different type of way.
There,
yeah. But the thing is, I find that some of us as people who claim we're people of Sunnah in the West, we don't tap into this spirituality.
We need to.
Man say, man's a Sufi, We're Sufi. Because you want to tap.
I gave a khutbah about dhikr.
Yeah.
All from Quran Hadith. And people are already posting about me online. This guy went bid'ah and stuff. Like, brother, everything I said from Quran and Sahih Hadith.
Okay.
And the way of the Salaf.
When you wake up at night and you say, I'm going to make some Salatul Qiyam, if you just turn off the light and you pray in the darkness,
Yeah.
You tell him you don't feel something spiritual, that connection, where there's nothing moving about outside, there's no traffic, there's no cars, there's no worldly thing going on. It's just you and your Lord now, brother. And that's not a spiritual thing.
Now, I'll tell you this.
And this is one of the way of the Salaf. You understand? This night prayer.
Our brother Sneeko, the first time he went Umrah, and I saw that man change. You know
what? I'll be honest with you. See with Sneeko,
I think I heard you mention that.
You see with Sneeko, I do see Allah knows best, but I see that passion and sincerity in him. And he's really come from a revert, a new Muslim fairly. And I think he made quite lot of progress, you know.
He's not perfect, but he's trying.
Guys, we got to wrap it up in a second.
But I think just to emphasize what the brother said, I think he's touched on something which is deeply, deeply fundamental, and the Sheikh as well, which is that nowadays spirituality has been drained from religion. It's become very mechanistic. People talk about movements, they talk about this needs to be done at this time and that position needs to be done in the, but there's a deep spiritual kind of existence that we definitely need to bring back through dhikr, through tadabbur, focus, tahajjud.
According to the Quran and Sunnah.
Of course, which is what you discussed. But the fact that
you could almost say there's a spiritual black hole.
For sure. And the fact that you mentioned it, according to Quran and Sunnah, and people somewhat thought it was a taboo, and this is deeply, deeply concerning.
It is.
And the fact that you're saying that, look, I mean, switching off the light, that should be something which is normal. It should be something that anything that connects you to your Lord according to Quran and Sunnah, that's evidence. Why is this not talked about more often? Because this is the backbone of the religion.
Smile, listen.
Busy labeling each other.
I was speaking to
Smile.
Yeah, that's your new name, Smile.
W plug.
We've got to wrap up, and there's a brother waiting for us as well, and obviously got to get to the lecture. 1 minute each. 3 of you, I'm going to ask you to give advice before we finish. A minute 2 each. First with Sheikh Uthman. I would like you to give an advice to especially the brothers that you're not openly sinning. Like you'll have brothers now, for example, rappers, alcohol in their hand, and glorifying it and encouraging it. Just just a nice, to help them, inshallah. The severity and
Look,
there's advice to me as well, by the way.
First and foremost, an advice to myself. Like before anybody else, it's advice to myself. We have to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This dunya will pass. Fame, glory, followers, subscribers, money, cloud, things, objects, none of that will last. I have seen people be buried as you have. None of them took their wealth with them. None of them took their fans with them. None of them took anything with them except their aqidah and their amal. So if you sin, and every one of us makes a mistake, make sure that it's something between you and Allah, that you're turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're following it up with a good deed. Never be persistent on sin. When you sin with that persistence, with showing it, it is as if you're fighting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as if you're like, I don't care. And that's why it's the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Allah continues to forgive the slave unless they make it apparent, unless they make it where they're showing it off. So if you're out there rapping, and it's not, and again, don't think I don't know what that life is about. I used to be in a rap crew. I grew up with those guys. I know many rappers right now, all this stuff. But use your influence for good. Use your influence to bring a positive change. If you bring that haram, if you're out there showing alcohol and talking about gold and women and this like this, those people that follow you, you will stand their sin on your head. If you use that influence for good, all the good they do, imagine the brothers who give da'wah and people become Muslim at their hands, every one of their amal, their prayers, their fasting will be in your good deeds. Imagine the good you can walk away with. But if you encourage towards haram, and those people that do haram looking at you, taking you as an example, you will be on the day of judgment with all those sins on your neck. The last thing I will say, how long's life? I mean, think about it.
60, 70 years, 50 years.
Really?
Maybe
could finish tonight, bro.
Maybe a day, right? How many people do you know that you grew up with that never made it to 20? How many people did I grow with that didn't even pass their teens? I'm going to give this advice, and this is my own personal practice. Go to a maqbara, go to a graveyard, and look at the numbers, the people's birth dates and death dates that are usually marked there, and see how many of them died younger than you. Right? Go to do on your own. This is from the Sunnah, to go to the graveyard and look and get that lesson. Go out there and realize that you don't even know if you'll live to see tomorrow. So none of that will benefit you. Think about that grave when you're in there by yourself. No homies, no mandoms, no ends, no licks,
alone.
Nothing, no clout, nothing, alone. What's going to benefit you?
Just you and your deeds.
Naz, with you, just quickly, obviously because of your experience, like I know with your mother, what advice would you give to reverts upon how to give dawah to their mother and their father?
Firstly, I would say you yourself have to be an example. They have to see that 360 in you, depending on where you're coming from. And one of those principles we have, being walidain, you have to be good with your parents. Even when I was a non-Muslim, I was good with my mother. But coming back now, even more so. And I think...
And how old is she when she took Shahada?
She was 60 when she made Shahada.
MashaAllah. She died as a Muslim, alhamdulillah.
So, you know, one thing she said to me is, I've got my son back. And I didn't really realize that I was causing so much inner turmoil in that lady. And you can't repay them. You can't repay them. So anybody who's a Muslim now, who has their parents still alive, try your hardest to serve them in the best way possible. Even if they don't become Muslim, and we hope they do, but if you serve them well, there's a chance that they will forsake and see that goodness in you that might prompt them to take that step to embrace Islam.
And Akhi, with you lastly?
In your nice marina, mashallah.
Quickly.
We call this marina, you know.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was a type of boat.
Because sailors wear this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
With you quickly, obviously because of your platform, what would be your message for, you know, young kids to be proud of their Muslim identity?
Yeah, there's a saying that I think is loosely attributed to a few people, but they say that if you are to destroy a civilization or people, you get rid of their history. And that's exactly what they do. They first make you hate yourselves. And Malcolm X, I think, spoke a lot about this. And he would say stuff like, who's made you hate the color of your skin? Who's made you hate where you come from? And this is exactly it. When he went to prison, I mean, we're talking about prison. If you read his autobiography, he mentions that in prison, I would pick up certain books and I would be so frustrated because I couldn't understand what they were saying. I just couldn't access it. So he said, I just started copying out the dictionary. And he says that the first word that I copied out was aardvark, because it's double A. And he said, I just started doing it. So the thing is that, yes, schools are helpful. Yes, they're beneficial. But I mean, if you do look at some of the analysis that people give, not to badmouth it, but it's the correlation between school and prison, it's very simple. Like, they're not creating independent, creative, imaginative people. They're creating people that are meant to just go into the work industry, have enough knowledge to just get on with things and not question things too much, but not enough that you're going to start questioning the system. This is what I think Adorno, one of these old, I think, thinkers, was saying, that this is exactly what they want to keep you distracted using radio, movies, music. So you firstly don't question your purpose, and number two, you don't question the powers that be. So in order nowadays, I would say, it's so fundamental. These good books, make sure you purchase them, keep them in your home. I mean, as a teacher of 6 years, I used to tell the parents that would always complain, oh, my child doesn't read. I would say that when the child enters the home and goes into the living room, are books there? Where do you put the books? Are they relegated to one corner of the bedroom? What's in the living room? Like, most of the furniture is, pointing towards the television. I mean, what's the respect you're showing of books? Are your degrees hung up on the wall that your kids know that this is what I need to achieve? If you've got a PhD, at least your child could get a degree. You got a degree, at least he'll pass secondary school. So, but the attachment to books, I think now, with the more I'm looking into technology, I mean, we've got phones and smartphones, but eventually it's going to go to virtual reality. There's going to be more and more layers on reality, and it's going to be harder for people to leave and discern between what is artificial and what is reality. Like the Matrix game was saying, that we're trying to blur the lines, that you're more happier in the virtual world. That's why I would say, get your kids used to reading. And because when it comes to digital stuff, they can alter it, and a lot of this stuff they're altering and they're changing. Books you have in your home, and your children can see, oh, what books did my father read? And have this in your home with regards to politics, with regards to psychology, with regards to Islam, of course, and with regards to even fiction and non-fiction. make sure you've got them in your home, even if it's George Orwell's 1984 or, you know, Brave New World. And there's certain classics that your kids need to know that my father was interested in this sort of stuff. And that will kind of hopefully point them in a right direction, even if, Allah forbid, you die tomorrow, because the kids will want to be and have that attachment with you. So have that stuff in your home.
Jazakallah khair, Akhi, for the advice. Guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you, brothers, for all coming. And thank you guys for watching. It's something very different. It was like a freestyle.
Nice.
It wasn't scripted. We just talked what we felt, basically.
Alhamdulillah.
We never like pre-planned anything here, you know. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Assalamu alaikum. And peace to all my non-Muslim brothers. Guys, today's podcast is in partnership with Stone & Co Solicitors, experts in serious and complex criminal matters. If you have a criminal matter that you need help with, or you've been arrested and want the best representation, contact the number below or drop them an email. All the information is on the screen below, as you can see. Stone & Co can offer specialist criminal defense services on a private basis or legal aid, so you don't pay nothing. And as a promotional offer, they're offering a case review in person or over the phone, free of charge, no obligation, no fees, and they'll take a look at your case, guys.